Time is running out to avoid a government shutdown. The Senate is set to vote again today on a funding bill, but it does not appear the votes are there to make it through. Lawmakers have until 12 midnight tonight, though, to cut a deal. If not, thousands of federal workers could be furloughed or permanently laid off. Others would be expected to continue working without pay. Top congressional leaders from both parties met with President Trump at the White House yesterday and walked away with no deal. Both sides say the other is at fault for a possible shutdown.
If the Democrats make the decision to shut the government down, the consequences are on them, and I think it's absolutely tragic.
Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, and Donald Trump is the president. If the government shuts down, it's because Republicans have decided to shut the government down and hurt the American people.
CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand joins us now from the White House with more on this. Good morning, Natalie. So what happened yesterday and where do things stand right now?
Yeah, Errol, hard to see how this all comes together with less than 24 hours to go. And you could hear in those clips that both sides believe the other would be at fault if a shutdown does, in fact, happen. And the vice president, speaking after the big meeting here at the White House yesterday, says he believes we are, in fact, headed toward a shutdown, with both sides just really dug into their positions. Republicans want the Senate to take up that short-term funding measure that's already passed the House. Democrats are pushing to add health care funding to extend subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, which are set to expire at the end of the year and make up for some of the health care cuts that were part of the GOP tax cut and spending bill. Now, what was interesting is after the meeting, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said it did seem to him like there might be some difference of opinion between the president and Republican leadership, specifically when he was sharing stories about health care impacts. But at the end of the day, Republicans' position is that they don't want that negotiation to be tied to this short-term spending measure, trying to keep the government open, that they would be willing to maybe negotiate that separately. Democrats, they don't trust Republicans at this point, and they want the negotiations to be linked, Errol.
And what makes this different from previous government shutdowns, Natalie, is the White House is threatening permanent federal workforce layoffs if this kicks in. Is that a certainty?
Well, it's unclear what positions and agencies would be impacted or most impacted. But what we do know is the Office of Management and Budget sent out a letter to federal agencies saying that they could use a shutdown as a, quote, opportunity to look for positions where government funding has lapsed and positions that don't fit with the president's priorities. So if you think about the cuts that have already been made under the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, it would kind of be a continuation of that. But what we do know, the president's priorities, enhanced immigration enforcement, public safety. This is coming amid, the president's crime crackdown and involvement of the National Guard. So those essential positions, federal law enforcement, military, they would have to continue work, obviously, without pay for now. Errol.
Really important details there. Natalie, thank you.